Jo Ling.
That would be the Asian
From
version,
GWI,
yes.
great chat about Gen Z and some emerging trends. Join us on air. Lavinia. And this morning we are joined by Jo Ling Sun, who's a senior trends analyst at GWI or Global Web Index.
Yes, we're going to talk about Gen Z. I'm not from Gen Z.
Okay.
Am I pointing out my
Let's
age?
not try to even go there.
Okay, fine.
But, there's always a lot of debate over how to group the different generations,
Yeah.
right, Jo Ling? Millennial, Boomer, Gen X and all that. How would you define someone in Gen Z?
Yeah, Gen Z, so they are between the ages of 16 to 26 in our study. And what distinguishes Gen Zs are that they are born fully immersed into the age of internet. They've grown up in a age where the technology is rapidly advancing, and what distinguishes these generations are that they are digital natives. So their behaviors, their reliance on the internet and technology is really different from the previous generations that came before.
So that's how I can hold them captive. I turn off your internet. I changed the password
Because they've
for the
never
Wi-Fi.
known a world without the internet,
Yeah,
right? They were
exactly.
born into it. Not like us. We saw, we had to go from pages.
Dial
to
up.
phones to
Dial up, people. Yeah, yes.
We know what that sound means. It means agony.
Actually, Jo Ling looks like she's like, no, I've never heard that sound.
No, I had typing lessons when I was young.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're same generation.
Yeah.
Does this impact the way that we communicate with Gen Z in that case?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like Gen Zs, they are definitely a lot more open, inclusive, open to conversation and dialogue as well.
Or
Yeah.
must we, in order to communicate with them, send an email? Via
You know how it
internet?
is. They don't really like picking up the phone to
Yeah.
talk. On text, no problem. We can send them multiple text messages. But when you kind of call them, they're like, they don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to talk to you, which is very different from our generation, the chat. Why is that so?
Oh, I actually have a very interesting stat on this from our data. We learned that, the things that we are doing associated with what we're doing during the pandemic, like increased social media time, increased streaming time, increased online purchase, they have actually been what the Gen Zs were doing before even the pandemic. The rest of the generations, they're just catching up with them.
Oh, yeah.
That's
no
a
wonder.
very good point.
They've
So
been
they were-
texting
they
right
were
out of
fine.
right out of the birth canal. They were texting.
Mom, I'm here.
That's how she knew. They sent a WhatsApp.
Oh my goodness.
So, what are some of the biggest problems that Gen Zs are facing right now?
Yeah, during the pandemic, I feel like all of us has some kind of trauma, and especially the Gen Zs. They have missed a lot of important milestones in their life, orientation camp, graduation trips, or even landing their first job. So, coupled with inflation, economic downturn, and that being the most financially vulnerable group, they have been experiencing a lot of crisis fatigue.
Crisis fatigue.
That's
what
a
is
new
that?
term. I like it.
Yeah, the word of the year for 2022 was actually perma-crisis, because we've gone through such a prolonged time of pandemic, instability, in war in some countries, and our headspace is really boggled down with all this negative news.
Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of them really tired of looking at all this negative news, and their headspace are occupied by more pressing issues. So, for example, we see that Gen Zs, they are telling us they're less interested in environmental issues
Oh.
because of this. Yeah.
Okay,
But
so crisis fatigue. They want to move away from negativity.
Yes.
They just want to have fun.
How is this different from the other generations? I'm sure we're all very tired of bad news as well, though.
Yeah, definitely. We are all very, have PTSD from the pandemic.
Yeah.
But Gen Zs, they are the most affected. We see them losing the most interest in environmental affairs. And, globally, they are losing interest in news and current affairs. Thankfully, not the Singaporean Gen Zs. Yeah.
Is it because they're so used to the bad news?
Yeah, they don't want to see any more of that. They actually want to head into more nostalgic times. 1-2K was in, the 90s, early 2000s was really in with the Gen Zs.
There is a trend apparently right now
Okay.
of people using social media savvy phones. They just want
Really?
a phone for the sake of having a phone. They don't want all the apps. They
Like
don't
the-
want Instagram,
like the
Facebook.
old Nokia.
Yeah.
So no
They don't want
smartphones.
apps.
Hey, they could be onto something. Honestly.
Yeah. just stripping things down, going back to a simpler life.
I like that.
Yeah. So that maybe is a cue for us as well to take from Gen Z. All right, we'll be back with more with Jo Ling Sun, once again, the Senior Trends Analyst from Global Web Index. Meanwhile, join the conversation on Facebook Live and YouTube. It's facebook.com/1FM91.3.
Hey there!
Welcome.
Welcome.
No, don't
Welcome
say it.
to
Text it.
Antarctica. Sorry?
Don't say it. Text it.
Text it, that's right.
Text me. You're welcome.
Oh, I'm here. Alrighty, so we carry on the conversation. Jo Ling, tell us this. How do the different generations in Singapore actually use social media differently? Maybe you can start by first pointing out the different generations. I was shocked to learn that I'm actually a millennial.
Are you?
I always go like, yeah, these millennials, huh? And
Okay,
then someone said, how old are you?
Did you mention the year earlier? Sorry.
Ah.
The Gen Z year is from what year?
Yeah, I think they're born between the 1997 and 2006.
Uh-huh. 1997 to 2000.
Okay.
That's Gen Z. And then before that, before Gen Z is what?
Millennials, then before them are the Gen X, and before that are the baby boomers.
Okay.
Okay. I
Gen
feel
X,
like
of
it's
course.
a little bit clearer to me now.
Gen
Just need
X
to
is the
remember.
best, huh?
You're Gen X?
What are you?
I'm apparently a millennial. And I will always go like, yeah, these millennials. And then someone said, you're this age. Actually, you're a
I
millennial.
think you're on the cusp. You're
yeah,
on the
I'm on
cusp.
the tail, the higher end of millennials. So I was
The
like,
higher functioning
I cannot
type.
slam them anymore because I'm millennial
Yeah,
myself.
but I said you're the higher functioning type.
Oh, really? Thanks.
You're welcome. Where's the 50?
Oh,
Slide.
yeah.
Just
got
kidding.
it.
Okay. So back to our question.
How do the different generations in Singapore use social media differently?
Yeah, so Gen Zs, unsurprisingly, they are the people who are consuming most social media.
They're not.
They are.
They are.
Yeah, they are, yeah. Unlike the other generations who have increased social media time during the pandemic, it actually peaked in 2021 for the rest of the generation. The Gen Zs have been using a lot of social media and they have actually been cutting down since 2018.
Really? Oh, because you pointed out how they want to go back, right? The old school
Yeah.
trends, the nostalgic trends. And then,
Exactly.
Carol, you mentioned about the phone,
Yeah.
right? That they are using more simplified non-smartphones. Those things still exist.
Yeah, because
Can we
there's been
log
a
on to our
renaissance. There's been a renaissance, like Nokia and Motorola. They all want the simple phones now.
Interesting.
I would
Very
like that
interesting.
every now and then, just a phone to do whatever it's supposed to do, right? Make a call.
And
'Cause
keep it simple.
Half the time, like I've got my smartwatch. I do not know how to make a call on my smartwatch. I mean, eventually I will figure it out. But most of the time when I really need to make, like, where is the phone function on my watch?
I've only taken a call from my smartphone because my phone was downstairs, right?
Yeah.
And I was like 2 levels up and I was like, oh, can hear me?
I know, but to dial that number, right, you gotta go, wow, so many things you have to do. And then I get very frustrated with technology. So sometimes I just wish, there was something simple
Keep
to
it
do.
simple,
What it's
right?
meant to do. Yeah.
Interesting. And what do Singaporean Gen Zs in particular do for entertainment, or what kind of trends do they appreciate?
Yeah, so Gen Zs, they are using the internet a lot for gaming. They are 82% more likely to be using the internet for gaming, actually.
In particular,
Not
interesting.
for knowledge.
Well, maybe you learn from gameplay. I like to think.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like gaming is very diverse right now. Like, actually, when we look at Southeast Asia gamers, mobile gamers, the gender ratio is actually 50-50 split.
Okay.
Yeah, so because of mobile gaming especially, it's a gateway drug to gaming, and a lot of people it's very accessible to everyone.
Right. Well, I guess that's a good point to point out, for like maybe the parents of Gen Zs who want to maybe in a way connect with them, find something in common, play some mobile games.
Yeah.
Okay. Gurman is texting in on WhatsApp. He wants to
Yes.
know what's after Gen Z. Gen Alpha? Gen Sleepy Z? What is coming after Gen Z?
Yeah, Gen Alpha is the generation.
Oh, Gen Alpha.
Gurman, you guessed it right.
How are we getting all these terms and names?
Yeah, who gives them the right to name this?
Yeah.
Who's that person?
That's a really interesting question.
Oh, no.
Is there going to be a generation banana hammock?
Oh, I would love that. Can we please name a generation that?
Banana
please?
hammock, you just want to chill. You don't want to do anything. I'm just going to sleep in a banana hammock and do life that way.
I want to be an honorary member of that generation.
How cool would that
Yeah.
be? Maybe your kids got a chance.
Ah.
So what's an often heard generalization or stereotype about Gen Zs that you feel is, not quite true or accurate?
Oh, one interesting thing is that, we often see Generation Z as being more environmentally conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot of protests, throwing ketchup at, paintings. But
Yes.
actually, in fact, Generation Z, they are very much less likely to recycle than even boomers.
What?
36% of Gen Zs tells us that they always recycle as compared to 62% of boomers.
Why is that?
Really
Why is that?
fascinating.
Why are they not
Wow.
recycling?
I'm not saying that they are not environmentally conscious, but they are expecting more companies and institutions to be doing their part rather than themselves.
So they make the noise, but they want the change to be done by the companies, the bigger institutions as well, or even their parents.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
exactly.
interesting.
That kind of feels like, again, every generation though. Every generation is waiting for the next one to come up with the solutions. Right?
I do have to say that it's more like when I became a parent, I suddenly became more environmentally aware and conscious because maybe, I have one day the earth will be in the hands of my kids, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave it in too bad a state, And I realized that kids, they generate a lot of waste, like a lot of waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's more like what happens in your life that makes you more wanting to be more active in being environmentally conscious.
Yeah, we see different generations. They play different parts in this.
When it comes to work, what are some of the patterns and trends you're noticing?
Yeah, so we see a lot of global trends of, Gen Zs pushing back against the hustle culture. In Singapore, actually, Gen Zs, they value that flexibility in work, work-life balance. 83% tell us that they value work-life balance even above, traditional priorities like salary or career progression. But Gen Zs in Singapore, they are, we are in a more hierarchical Asian society. Even though they want it, they don't dare to say no.
Oh, really?
They're least comfortable generation saying no in the workplace.
What?
Yeah.
I feel like, really?
That's
Why?
their own perceptions of themselves.
Why are they afraid of saying no? Like they want to be accepted.
Yeah.
I always feel like they do say no.
Yeah, me too.
They
Like,
have no
know
qualm saying no.
They know how to say no.
That we have to start the conversation by, don't say no first until you've heard me out.
Hey, also, right, I want to know, do you think
Yeah.
Gen Z is like the smartest generation? Because they grew up with all this technology and information, right? It's almost as if they were inundated. This deluge of information, whether or not they wanted, was at
that's
the tip
true.
of their fingers via Google and
Yes.
Wikipedia and all that.
Yeah, definitely their relationship, the reliance on the internet is very different from the previous generation. But have you heard of this term called tech shame?
Tech
Tech
shame.
shame.
They're talking about the Gen Zs, not boomers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they are actually not that comfortable. Not everyone's very comfortable with, technology in the Gen Zs. Some of them, feel the pressures, especially in the workplace, where older generation go to them for technical assistance.
Yeah.
But they don't really know how to use certain things.
Oh,
And
wow.
they become very pressurized by it.
Oh, wow.
Really? Because I do go to the younger ones.
I know,
who we
that's
work with, 'cause we're like,
mind-boggling.
how you do this, ah?
Yeah.
And, then
they're
my
like,
eyes glaze
it's like
over.
this.
And I
you know?
glaze over. I'm like,
Yeah. They don't think twice. They don't think
Yeah.
twice about it. 'Cause
that is a surprising fact.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Oh, wow. Maybe that's why there's also a renaissance in like typewriters and things. Like the other day, we were talking about that poet, a 17-year-old. He's typing out on a typewriter poems for people outside Marina Bay Sands.
Like an old school one.
Yeah, there's an appreciation for going back to, a simpler way of life. Okay, nice.
Very interesting. That is an interesting trend. Thank you for pointing that out.
But so, bottom line, are they smart or not?
I feel like it's
No,
a lot
are they
of ways to
because
define
they have
smart.
so much information?
Yeah,
Are they the
definitely.
smartest generation?
They're definitely more inclusive, open to dialogue. I feel like that's a form of intelligence as well.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. Good point.
Okay, good
point.
EQ, is it?
Yeah, good EQ.
Oh,
Better EQ, I feel.
Better EQ than other generations.
Ah, but does that make them too sensitive? When you're just so like, too aware, too woke, too sensitive.
She says.
Yeah, actually, they are actually very aware that they are prone to anxiety because of that.
Okay.
They actually are the most proportion of generation who tell us that they are prone to anxiety because of the social media or because they're spending too much time online.
Okay.
Wow, we should mention that on air in just a
Correct.
bit.
That's got to do with mental health. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll jump back on air to discuss that in just a few moments. Join us on air on 91.3. Good morning.
Phoebe Hawkins with As I Lay Me Down here on the Brightside with Carol and Lavinia. Good morning.
Just don't lay down right now, okay?
Oh, why?
We gotta guess.
Yes. We are joined in the studio today all the way from Global Web Index, or GWI. We've got Jo Ling Sun, the Senior Trends Analyst, and we're talking all about Gen Z. Once again, can we define what is Gen Z generation?
There are 16 to 26-year-old in our study.
That means like maybe kids of some of our Brightside buddies tuning in.
16 to 20, so born in the year 1997, between 1997 and 2006.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a Gen Z. Maybe there are some parents tuned in this morning as well.
Yep.
Trying to figure out their child, trying to figure out how to communicate to them what are some of the issues and emerging trends associated with Gen Z. One of the things we were talking about off air on Facebook Live, which is where we are right now as well, 1FM 913, is that they're more aware of their mental states, their mental health, dealing with anxiety and such. So how heavily are Singaporean Gen Zs impacted by mental health strain?
Unfortunately, they are one of the most vulnerable groups in terms of mental wellness. They are the biggest group along with the boomers who tell us that, they have mental health conditions and they're very prone to anxiety. But fortunately, they are also the most open to talking about their mental wellness. Although I feel like there's room for improvement because only 33% tell us they are comfortable talking about their mental wellness.
Right. You said boomers as well facing mental health strain?
Yeah, they're actually around the same percentage as, Gen Z who tell us they have a mental health condition.
Okay, so about 33% also comfortable talking about it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That is very interesting.
Yeah. Because I think boomers have a lot of pride. They don't want to appear weak. They've been through so much themselves. And
they come from that generation where everyone kind of keeps it in.
Yes.
So nobody's going to talk about it. It's seen as, like you said, a sign of weakness if you talk about these kind of mental health issues, or if you're feeling sad.
It's a stigma associated with
Definitely.
it. Yeah.
So that is very interesting. I want to just sit down and pick her brain. Just want to pick your brain, Jo Ling.
I'd love to bring this offline as well.
Oh. We have a date already, Carol. Please join us.
All right, so how are Singaporean Gen Zs approaching work life then, and how do they prioritize an employer?
Yeah, so as we've spoken about, Gen Zs, they prioritize work-life balance, work flexibility, and they want to do work that makes them feel good and makes a difference to society as well. Yeah, but, Gen Zs in Singapore, they actually tell us that they don't feel so comfortable saying no in the workplace, unfortunately, even though, we might see a difference in reality, but they themselves say that they don't feel comfortable. They actually see a mental barrier.
We also see a lot of multi-hyphenates, okay? So they're no longer staying in one job, for long periods of time. Like our generation, the baby boomers, the Gen X, they stay in jobs for decades,
Yeah,
10,
the silver
20,
bowl.
30 years.
Yeah.
Exactly, diamond anniversary or something. But the Gen Zs, is that something that's changing, or is it they're still pretty much wanting to do life on time, on target?
Yeah, definitely. And we see them doing more variable salary work. They don't really enjoy that fixed income lifestyle.
You would say they don't subscribe to that usual, work sort of ethics or work sort of impression, right? That, it's all about the company, that one job that you stick to for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
They don't need a long service award, basically.
Oh, they'll never win it. What?
What are some job trends with Gen Zs? What kind of work are they taking on?
They are taking on more less fixed salary jobs and more variable salary jobs. They are 37% more likely to be having a job that gives them a variable income, like gigs, and freelance work.
Okay, so digital nomads, influencers as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Are
That's
there-
one of the top jobs that they dream jobs
Of Gen Z.
Yeah.
I know.
Really?
Yeah, they all come out born already want to be influencer.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of them have baby Instagram accounts, I feel. Yeah.
Literally, so they really did come out of the womb with a handphone and just went to work. Texting their mom, I'm here. I'm just going to start my Instagram account.
Please like and share.
Yes. Oh, goodness. I have this. They want more flexibility. So this whole work, office and working from home, that kind of hybrid working system is more up their alley.
Yes, definitely. We see Gen Z saying that they want that flexibility in their work.
But it's harder now, right? Do you have trends on companies saying that actually they're kind of going back to everybody come back to the office, please? I want to see your face.
Yeah, we see that. And when we ask them whether they want a 4-day work week, Gen Zs are really hopping on the train for that.
Well, a lot of us are also rooting for that 4-day work week because, the pandemic has taught us whatever we can do at home, we do at home.
That's true.
We're more efficient. We're more aware of work-life balance. balance, especially since we know that life is so precious. You know,
Yep.
you're not really guaranteed tomorrow. And perhaps Gen Z is also more aware of that right now, living for the moment, in the moment.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of Gen Zs, they, even though they want that, they don't dare to say it. At least they don't feel comfortable
Oh.
saying it.
Okay, send a text.
Send, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's what your generation does, right, Gen Zs?
All right. Well, Jo Ling, thank you so much for joining us this morning and bringing us up to speed with the Gen Z generation. What are some of the things they're dealing with and how we can better approach them and talk to them? I mean, now that we know that they're afraid to speak up sometimes, perhaps that gives us something to think about when we do want to talk about something serious with Gen Z. Yeah. And thank you so much for joining us this morning on Facebook Live as well, our Brightside buddies. Stay with us. Still to come, we have more of your favorite tunes from Whitesnake and Irene Cara. You're on 1FM 91.3.
Hit us up on
Okay, thank you so much, Jo Ling.
Hey, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know Gen Z. Actually, I do find a lot of similarities between us and Gen Z. I mean, maybe some differences in the kind of jobs that we take on, but sometimes, like you mentioned with the baby boomers, you know, it's the mental health strain, you know, the fear of speaking up sometimes.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Those 2 points, you know, what she said about what you said about baby boomers and how the Gen Z are actually afraid to speak up at work.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised at that. Yeah, because I
very
thought they
true.
were very vocal, you know, really standing up for their rights because they're so aware.
Yeah, Brian, are you Gen Z? What year were you born? Huh? 98. You are Gen Z.
Ah, do you agree with what was shared here today?
Yeah, of course.
Oh wow!
So you use the old Nokia, the brick phone?
No lah.
Eh.
Oh, seriously.
Ah,
do you
okay.
suffer from tech shame?
Ah,
No, I work in social media.
He works in social media. He is down with all the tech. Okay.
yeah. If we have to
But
shame him for attack.
Are you afraid of saying no to your boss?
Ah,
Yeah.
Oh, long pause, long pause. Okay, so GWI has done their research quite well. So
it's accurate.
thank you so much, Jo Ling, and thanks so much to our Facebook community as well.
Tell me